Welcome to VidZet. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. This morning I had planned to record a podcast on the Article 5 convention possibilities, but after I had my morning Black Rifle coffee, no, they don't pay me, it's just great coffee, go on the web and see for yourself, my Twitter feed exploded. And it became apparent that I need to do a piece on the law of subsidy. Now, I've talked about the law of subsidy before. It's pretty straightforward. When you subsidize something, you get more of it, and it gets more expensive. So the key here is, let's explain how this works. And let me walk through a couple of key things here. First of all, the law of subsidy is not a suggestion. It's not somebody's casual observation. It is a law of economics. That is, it happens every time there is a subsidy. When you subsidize something, you're going to get more. It gets more expensive. End of story. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. The first one to look at is Medicaid. Medicaid was passed in 1965. It originally covered 4 million people at a cost of about $200 a pop. Total cost $1 billion. By 2015, we were now up at $545 billion. We have on the order of 75 million people covered by it. That's a 75-to-1 increase in the coverage over a period of time when our population didn't increase 75 times. And the cost has gone up immensely from 200 to 10,000. Now, it's grown far faster than the population has. It's grown far faster than inflation has. And the question that we have to answer anytime we're looking at a subsidy is, who gets the money? To remember Sutton's law, we have to follow the money. Or as we showed in our last video, show me the money. This is the key. So when we look at it, who benefits? Well, it's clear that the people are not the ones benefiting. The Oregon Health Insurance Experiment, we've talked about it before, shows that having Medicaid doesn't improve your health over not having Medicaid. The only thing of substance it does is it raises the cost by 40%. Next, who else could be benefiting? Well, the bureaucrats benefit because the more people that are served, the more bureaucrats are necessary to do the serving. That's job security for bureaucrats. Politicians, oh yes, look what we did for all the poor people. When in fact, you did something that raised costs and didn't do anything good for them at all. So who really benefits? If we're looking at $545 billion, now let's just look at Blue Cross, for example. They claim they serve about 6% of all of Medicaid around the country. Anthem, United Healthcare, Kaiser, whoever else is serving other chunks of it. But if they're only getting a 5% cut for administrative fee of $545 billion, that's about $26 billion. If we're only looking at 6% for Blue Cross, that's $1.5 billion plus minus. Oh, that's an important part of their profit. So do you think that Blue Cross is going to say, look, we need to get rid of Medicaid? Why would they do that? They'd be cutting their own throats. Instead, they're going to lie, cheat, and steal to let you think that if you cut Medicaid, people will not receive health care, when we know that's not true. They hide their subsidy with lies. Now, before we go on to the second example, I'd like every one of you to take a moment and check out the Federalist Party. Check out the link that's down below here. Go look at them. They are a new political party which is working to restore America to the original view that was put forward by our founding fathers and is embodied in our Constitution. And as we look at our current president, yes, he was elected as a Republican, but he sure looks like a Federalist in most of the things he's doing. Okay, second example, higher education. I'm going to look in my own family for this one. My dad graduated from Walla Walla College around 1950 with a degree in physics. Now, he was married. By the time he graduated, he had 3 kids, my 2 older brothers and my sister. And he worked full-time, paid his bills, and graduated without debt. 1950. My 2 oldest brothers went to Walla Walla as well, graduating about 62 and 64, if memory serves. And while Dad helped them some, they worked full-time, took full loads, they lived in the dorm, and they graduated without debt. Can you do that today? Not bloody likely. I mean, let's take a look. Let's go on. 1973 was last year. I was at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. Now, I went on a full-ride academic scholarship, but that was about $600 a year. It wasn't much. Now, my medical school, when I graduated in 1976, I came out with $25,000 I owed. My daughter, who graduated in 2011 from Loma Linda University, where I went, graduated with roughly $250,000 of debt. Her total cost for medical school was around $330,000. Now let's take a minute and look at this. That is a 13 times increase. 13 times increase during a time when inflation went up about 4 times more or less. What's the extra triple on that? Oh, that's called subsidies. And that comes when we're looking at federally insured student loans, grants, and the like. All of those things are sent to pay for students. And guess what? We have Congress saying, well, look what we did. It's so expensive. We're going to help pay for it. Well, who benefited? It's not the students. My daughter's $250,000 debt is not a benefit. Oh, the bureaucrats? The more loans we have, the more grants we have, more jobs we have. It's good for bureaucrats, so they benefit. Politicians? Yes. Oh, we helped them pay for this horribly expensive education. No, you caused the bloody, horribly expensive education with all your subsidies over the years. Remember the law of subsidy. You get more and it gets more expensive. Politicians claim the credit, but who gets the real benefit? Schools can hire more professors, more TAs, get more time off, don't have to teach as many classes, and oh, by the way, build more fancy campuses, big buildings, tribute to whoever buildings, put somebody's name on the front. What did they do? They profited. So who benefits? Everybody but the student, and in particular, the education establishment benefits. What is the subsidy for on education? It's subsidizing the education establishment. It's not subsidizing education. When we realize this, we realize it's a problem. And oh, by the way, the Constitution doesn't give any authority to the federal government to subsidize anything. Remember, the Constitution says the only powers the federal government has are the ones we list. And if you look for student loans, if you look for educational grants, you won't find them. If you look for Medicaid, Medicare, Obamacare, you won't find those in that list either. I don't care what the Supreme Court said. It's not constitutional. The bottom line here is if we're going to solve our financial problem, and it's everywhere, we have got to dynamite these subsidies away. And that's the only way you're going to do it. Each one of us has a personal example. We either have or know somebody who has an adult child living at home. Why? It's a subsidy. It's cheaper to live at home than it is to go out and live on your own. So what you got to do to get rid of them? You blow them out of the house. You say, it's done. You raise the price. You're going to live here, you're going to pay rent. You start raising the rent, you start recovering a little bit of money, but pretty soon they're going to say, maybe I'm better off on my own. I won't have my parents bugging me. And they grow up and become income-producing adults. This is absolutely necessary. And we won't get our debt under control until we do that. Remember the law of subsidy, and it's a law. When you subsidize something, it gets more expensive and you get more of it. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. Thanks for watching.